Hello everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Penn State Sports Night. I'm your host, Lina Pedrelli, alongside Tim Rogers and Andrew Kalb. Tonight, we'll be taking a look at this crazy weekend of college football. So gentlemen, what do you think was the biggest upset of the weekend?
Yeah, it was a crazy weekend across all of college football, but the one upset that really stood out to me was number 3 Oklahoma blowing a 21-point lead to Kansas State at home. You can always pencil in Oklahoma for a loss like this, but after losing to Kansas State last year and this game being so early in the season, this outcome really came as a surprise to me.
Yeah, well, for me, it was LSU losing to Mississippi State. I mean, the reigning national champions, you're coming in with all the hype in the world. They're the first team to lose their home opener after winning the national title in almost 2 decades. That's something that you don't want to see. I mean, the quarterback, 2 interceptions at 58.7 completion percentage. That's something you can't be having.
This week had some impressive performances. Who do you guys think had the most dominant performance?
Yeah, well, for me, it's got to be Miami over Florida State. 52-10, absolute dominance. But for me, I really like the ground game. 4 total rushing touchdowns. I do have to give credit, though, to the quarterback King. He did have 267 yards. And it wasn't like a big game where it's like eye-grabbing, but it's those games that are going to win you, that are going to get you multiple wins throughout the season and hopefully take them far this year.
Yeah, the most impressive performance for me had to be the Florida Gators. Kyle Trask starts off his senior year helping the Gators drop a 50-burger on Ole Miss. He throws for 400 yards and 6 touchdowns. And you got Kyle Pitts at the tight end spot going for 170 yards and 4 touchdowns on only 8 receptions. The defense did look a little bit shaky early on in the game, but as the game got rolling, they looked better on.
Gentlemen, how do you think the outcome of this week's games are going to affect Big Ten teams like Penn State and Ohio State?
Yeah, with a couple losses from top teams this weekend, it definitely does open up some spots for the top teams in the Big Ten. And you have a couple close losses from teams like Texas and Texas A&M, who opens up even more spots for teams who are yet to play. And with a hot start from Miami, they're definitely going to move up in the rankings, which could possibly take a spot from Penn State or Ohio State in the Big Ten, in the top 10.
Well, I think if you got to look at it, Penn State already being ranked 10 and Ohio State already being ranked 6, and that's without playing a game. They're in a very tough division, so wins over like Michigan and Michigan State, that's really going to build up their stock in the polls. So I think with teams, again, like Oklahoma and like LSU falling into big upsets, I think the holes for Penn State and Ohio State are wide open for them to get into the college football playoffs.
Even though not all Power 5 teams are in action yet, is it ever too early to look ahead? Tim, I want to know, who do you think will be the 4 teams in the college football playoff this year?
Well, for number 1, I don't think it's anybody's surprise. It's Clemson. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, he's only lost 1 college football game his entire career. I don't see that changing anytime soon. He's going to lead Clemson to the number 1 seed. Number 2 seed, I got Alabama. I mean, Nick Saban, he's been here before. He's done it before. You never know really who the quarterback is or whatever. He never turns out to be a big name. They're always successful. They'll always make runs. 3, I got to represent here Penn State. I think they're going to beat Ohio State this year, and I mean, if Clifford is able to take that next step, I don't see how they are not able to make it to the college football playoffs. And 4, I do have another SEC team in Florida. I mean, Kyle Trask, you talked about it earlier, an absolute dominant performance, 6 touchdowns. I mean, a very dominant performance, and I can't wait to see the college football playoffs this year.
Yeah, I think the playoffs this year are going to be very controversial, with every conference playing mainly just conference games, so you're not be able to tell who's in, who's out based on out-of-conference games like you usually would. But, as for my number 1, I have to agree, Clemson. They have the best quarterback in the nation, one of the best coaches in the nation, and they play in a weak ACC, so I don't think anyone's stopping them. As for number 2, unfortunately, Ohio State, I think, is going to come out of the Big Ten. They only really have one challenge on their schedule. That's here versus Penn State. If they could win that game, they have a cakewalk the rest of the way. As for number 3, I think Florida comes out of the SEC as well. And as for number 4, I think Oklahoma turns things around after their loss this week and finds their way back into the playoff picture.
Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Penn State Sports Night. For Tim Rogers and Andrew Kalb, I'm Lina Pedrelli. Thanks for watching and have a great night.
Thank you for watching our latest edition of Penn State Sports Night. If you're a fan of our content, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more clips. Also follow us on Twitter at PSSNTV and on Instagram at PSU Sports Night to keep up with the action. For all my colleagues, we are Penn State Sports Night.